But John, if you do this, you will kill the market for years. It's over. And you're selling something that you know has no value.
We are selling to willing buyers at the current fair market price, so that we may survive.
You will never sell anything to any of those people ever again.
I understand.
Do you?
Do you? This is it. I'm telling you, this is it.
Welcome back to Hardball. That's a clip from the new movie Margin Call, which is about a fictional, I think, in a way, Wall Street firm. It's actually about all of them. On the eve of the 2008 financial crisis, it opens this Friday around the country. It stars the great Kevin Spacey, who's here with me tonight. Also joining me is J.C. Chandor, who wrote and directed the film. J.C., thank you for joining us. I now want to talk to Kevin Spacey. Kevin, what I love about his movie is, I saw it a couple weeks ago. It is spectacular because it finally explains the ultimate evil, which is the willingness of people with money to do anything to keep it, even screwing people that they like and work with.
Well, I also think what JC has done with this movie is he's given you, I think, a very clear idea about hierarchy. Every time you think you've met the top guy at this firm, 5 minutes later you meet somebody else who's above that guy, and then somebody else who's above that guy. And I think that's why it's become so difficult to sort of necessarily point the correct fingers at the correct people. But it certainly is interesting to us that at the very moment that Wall Street's being occupied, because I think people are realizing that there was a big Band-Aid put on a very big wound in 2008. This movie isn't a history lesson. It's happening.
It's a lot like High Noon, where you have a certain clock ticking, and in real time you realize that people under pressure will say, well, let's screw the people we do business with so we come out on top. And by the way, do they always make the bad guys at the top have English accents? Is that like in Spartacus? They're really bad people.
But see, I disagree with you. You call me a bad guy in this movie, and I actually think that this character is
a human being.
He's a human being. And he's not. He doesn't set out to do bad, and he is against it all the way. But ultimately, he's got to feed his family.
So many Wall Street people say the same thing. We have to stay in business. We have to cut deals. We have to deceive. Won't they all say that? They're all human beings.
But you can't lump deceive in there with we have to pay bills, and some do and some didn't, and some didn't go down the road that this firm went. This was, your father was in this business for a long time.
The sort of what we tried to do with the film is actually look at these people as human beings and actually figure out that it's not pure greed or pure deceit. It's a very, very complicated issue that there's no simple answer. We're not going to solve this.
What did you learn on Wall Street you want to show in this movie so people watching Hardball now get it?
That this is not going to be fixed quickly. This is going to be a long, complicated conversation. And if we just put our heads back in the sand and say, you're bad, I'm good, we're going to be right back in the same place
But
again.
The beauty of your film is we've all learned about how real estate assets were bundled together into securities and then sold off to Belgium or somewhere. And along that chain of custody, this stuff that had no value because the poor people who bought these homes couldn't pay for them, especially with the declining real estate market, it all was going to be worthless.
Yeah, it was always.
I like the way you explain that in a movie.
I know, but what I also love is that even the characters, like the character I play and several other characters, they admit that they can't read those graphs. They have no idea what any of that stuff means. They got to get the smaller guys, the underlings, to explain to them what that means.
You fired the guy in the movie who warned you what's coming. It's like the guy in the Titanic saying the ship just hit an iceberg. Fire that guy.
We met a lot of those people who told us that. They had warned the firms, they had warned their bosses, and they were completely ignored.
Stanley Tucci's walking out with his box like people who've been fired have to do. They have to walk out with the box,
You'll do that
escorted by security, and then he's the guy they have to go and basically pay him to shut up.
There were also a lot of people leading up to the crisis that were fired for wimping out too early, as they sort of call it. So there's this, if you get out too early, you're gone. You're being too cautious. If you stay too late, it's almost better to stay too late. And I'm not sure that's the smartest way to run a multinational corporation.
Why should people see a movie that's going to make them really get mad at Wall Street?
Well, I hope that maybe it will make people understand it, and I hope that it's not as black and white as you're painting it out to be. That it's.
That's
I think
the way I saw it.
It's a nuance. I think it's more nuanced, and I think ultimately what's nice is to have a film about.
I love the movie, and by the way, I congratulate you on the number of people you put out on Wall Street, all the streets out there, all this number of people demonstrating for this movie.
Yeah,
I think
it's a great PR campaign.
Great move. Anyway, I'm just teasing. Thank you. They're real out there. This is a movie. Kevin Spacey, J.C. Chandor. The movie's called Margin Call. I highly recommend it because I could understand it.